Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And as I'm continuing to do so throughout the next few months, some of my reviews are going to be all about the SNL skits that have been turned into film. Today I have chosen the 1993 film Wayne's World 2. Here is your trivia question for today. Who is Wayne's spirit guide throughout the film? The answer will be at the end of this episode. In Wayne's World 2, we do catch up with our good friends Wayne Campbell and Garth Algar, as both of them have continued to do their cable access television series. Now, not much has changed for the boys, they continue to do what they've always done. However, though, Wayne and Garth are no longer living with their parents and have their own place together. Now, Cassandra, on the other hand, has continued to grow her career, mainly due to the fact of her new manager, Bobby, who has plans to take her to the highest heights. Wayne begins to make the realization that maybe he should do something bigger with his life. So while having a dream, he comes up with the idea of having a giant concert called Wayne Stock. Now the problem is trying to convince all the bands to actually show up. So will Wayne be able to prove his worth to not only himself, but Garth, Cassandra, Bobby, and even Cassandra's own father? This movie was directed by Steven Surgic. Apparently, they did reach out to the first movie's director, Penelope Spheris, but she said that she had to turn it down due to too many creative differences with her and Mike Myers. In this film, there were a few returning actors for the sequel. Now, of course, we have the two main characters, played by Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, as both Wayne and Garth. Speaking of Garth, by the way, Dana Carvey is wearing a shirt in some parts of this movie where it says Video Toaster. This is actually the name of the special effects system that his brother, Brad Carvey, designed. Brad, by the way, was also the inspiration for Garth. Tia Carrere returns as her character of Cassandra, although it does look like her role has been shaved down a bit in this one. Ed O'Neill is back to reprise his role of Glenn, the guy who owns Stan Mikita's Donuts. Chris Farley, who played a security guard in the first one, is back, but this time as a different character, Milton, who ends up being one of the roadies. In the first film, Wayne and Garth had three close friends, Terry, Neil, and Alan. Now, this time around, only Terry and Neil come back, both being reprised by Lee Tergesen and Dan Bell. Michael DeLuise does not come back as Alan. Rob Lowe was originally supposed to reprise his role as Benjamin, but unfortunately his manager pulled him after reading the script. It was at this point that they created the new character of Bobby, who would eventually be played by Christopher Walken. Myers initially wanted Dustin Hoffman to play the character of Bobby, but he turned it down as he was currently on a hiatus after doing the movies Hook and Hero. Personally, I think he turned down Wayne's World 2 as it was not an opportunity to do a third film that was four letters and starting with the letter H. Did you happen to know that the role of Sammy Davis Jr. was played by Tim Meadows, who at this time was a member of Saturday Night Live? The role of Jim Morrison in this film was played by Michael A. Nichols, but did you happen to know that this role was originally written with Val Kilmer in mind? Myers wanted him to reprise the role that he did so well in the movie The Doors. Kilmer unfortunately had to turn that down as he was already busy working on the film Tombstone. There are also quite a few cameos in this movie. You have James Hong as Jeff Wong, Kim Basinger as Honey Hornet, Drew Barrymore briefly appears as Björgen Kjörgen, Olivia Diabo appears as the female version of Garth, Betty Joe, Kevin Pollak has a quick cameo as Jerry Siegel, Harry Shearer as Handsome Dan, Ted McGinley as Mr. Scream, Charlton Heston as the good actor. This movie was also the feature film debut of Bob Odenkirk, who plays one of these two nerdy guys. Now, there are also celebrities cameoing as themselves. For instance, you have the entire band Aerosmith, then you have Rip Taylor, Heather Locklear as herself, and even Jay Leno has a brief cameo. Now, another actor I'd also like to mention is Ralph Brown appearing as Del, who, in my opinion, Del is just a very amusing character throughout the film. Side note, by the way, Del's story that he keeps bringing up about Ozzy Osbourne needing a particular color of M&Ms is actually from an urban legend involving the band Van Halen. The band Nirvana was offered a chance to appear in the film as well, but they turned that down. So I do enjoy this movie, but I don't think it's an amazing film. However, there are some reasons as to why this movie did not do as well in the box office. And at least one of those reasons has to be all of the movies that it was going up against. Being in theaters around the same time as Wayne's World 2 was Mrs. Doubtfire, Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit, Grumpy Old Men, Tombstone, The Pelican Brief, and Beethoven's Second. This sequel was filmed in Illinois and California. So when it comes to the film Wayne's World 2, I do like this sequel. I don't think it's better than the original, but I do still find it funny. I love all of the parodies that they do throughout it, but I just feel that the story was much stronger in the first one and that they didn't really do much to try and make this one better or different. So for those reasons, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5. Now, if you do enjoy this film, other movies I recommend checking out are Detroit Rock City, Airheads, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and Josie and the Pussycats. Now it's time to answer the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. Who is Wayne's spirit guide throughout the film? So, if you said Jim Morrison, you technically would be correct, and I am definitely still awarding you the point. But in my opinion, his true spirit guide throughout the film was the Naked Indian, played by Larry Sellers. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. And keep an eye out as over the next few months, I'm going to be trying to go through all of the other SNL skits that have been turned into films.